I was having a conversation with the parent of one of my kids' friends yesterday, and they were saying how I was very productive. And I paused for a minute and I kind of like denied it. And I'm like, no, I'm not really productive. But then he continued. He's like, oh, you give this kind of like, you're just so aloof and kind of like easygoing, but really like you're productive. I was like, what do you mean? And he knew that I did an MBA just recently, and I've talked about working on this business as well as like doing the other work that I do. And he's like, look at all of that. And in my mind, I'm like, no, it's like I'm just doing my thing, right? And then my kid was there, my older kid, and she was kind of like looking at me. He was like, you are productive. Like you made a website, you did all of these other, all you keep doing all these things. And I'm sitting here like, I guess so, but that's just like I'm just trying to do me. Like I just want to live my life and do things that I find fun and enjoyable. And I think that part of it is thinking about the idea of productivity from the sense of um, like a corporate or a capitalist measure of worth or value, where productivity is a metric that looks at kind of like how efficiently are you making money. And I'm like, but maybe something to keep in mind is this is not that, right? Like to be productive in the sense of like my personal life is probably more around um, just being creative and rather than thinking about any returns or all that. And I guess like money itself is like a measure of value, right? So then when thinking about being productive and creating value, like how productively are you creating value for yourself? Not necessarily monetary value, but just value. This makes me think that one of the key pieces we meet that we miss on a day-to-day basis, the key assumption that's missing is that we all are inherently valuable in some way. When we're made to feel like we're not valuable to begin with and that we have to earn or prove our value, that puts all of us in a very difficult position because what are the measures of value? Like societally, we look at money. So it's like, what's your net worth? How much are you making? What's your salary? Those kinds of questions. And even like when you're in that and your salary is going up, like you won't necessarily feel any different because that external validation is only validating what already exists inside you. Like it has to exist before somebody can say, hey, good job. So you have inherent value. And that's something that I, that's something that I not forget, but it's something that I've thought about a lot. And it makes me consider the frame that I enter. Like, why am I doing things? What am I doing things for and why? You know? And to start from a place of inherent value, understanding that me as an individual has inherent value and you do as well, it begins to shift how I look at the people outside of me. And then that then changes how I interact with other people rather than from a position of like, hey, like, prove to me how valuable you are, show me your worth. And in some ways, yeah, you show that and demonstrate that through your actions and your interactions with other people. But it's not to automatically assume that somebody has no worth and then they have to show and then prove and demonstrate. Isn't it more interesting to consider what worth is hidden? What's the hidden value? Like a hidden treasure, hidden gem. Um, I've heard this story a lot where, it's a diamond in the rough and polished it up and look how brightly it's shining. Well, diamond in the rough means that you are always a diamond. You are always a diamond to begin with. So then if you have an inherent value, then your creativity is expressing that value, right? Like you're consuming content, you're learning things, not necessarily just social media content, but you're learning things. You might be consuming like food and um, sustenance, and then you go and produce on the other end of it. So then when you're creating, you're always creating from that value unless you're thinking about creating for value, and then I think that your lens of creation becomes skewed. So it's easy to think about like, okay, like how do I have to show up so that other people can connect what's valuable. And then I think what happens is it becomes an act of like what the final product ends up is like not a creation, maybe a co-creation um, of an imaginary like feedback source coming and saying like, hey, like you need to do things this way or that way, without actually knowing. Like, why not just make what comes out naturally, what just exists, and then see what happens. The I think the measure of value in society and the things that we look at as in terms of like even like social currency, for example, kind of depends on the platforms that are made, which is interesting now because like recently I saw a TikTok talking about how it's no longer social media where you're like seeing your friends and the people that you follow, but more of like a I think interest media. It's like it's focusing on your particular interest. So rather than seeing content from the same person because you follow them, you're seeing content around topics that you're interested in. So this person was saying like create all sorts of different things and then see what lands out there. And it's an interesting kind of like it's like another way of saying like do everything that you can to show like value and like just try and fit into all the boxes. Or said another way, maybe another way of looking at it is that we're all complex individuals and that um, we're all complex individuals that really can have multiple different interests, right? Like we're not like single, like this is the one way that I'm appearing, you know? So then when I think about that in relation to productivity, yeah, do I create things? I'm constantly thinking about creating and making new things. And I think that, like taking away the meaning of the word, there is creation happening. Whether or not that has value or how it demonstrates the value is something that I have to internally hold myself. I can make a piece of work and look at it and say, like, I am proud of this work that I've done. And from a individual value standpoint, that's like an understanding of my inherent value and saying like, cool, like I'm good with that. And then what's really trippy is then putting it in front of other people and then having them tell you that it's good as well. And I see this often um, with people that work in pharmacy for whatever reason. I think this profession collects people that are very empathetic. They like to engage and help others, and in some ways, maybe like borderline people pleasers, if not full on. Um, and then also very bad at taking compliments. um, we also tend to be more indirect rather than saying the thing that's on our mind or asking the questions that we want the answers to. Um, we may ask in an indirect way, kind of like, hopefully, this person will give me the answer that I'm looking for. And this is not a trait of pharmacists per se. This is just the people that find themselves in the profession. And that shapes what that looks like. So without that self-confidence, knowing that the things that you produce are valid and inherent, and I have like a place to sit here, I don't need to prove myself. I don't need to do things in a specific way for the approval of others. I will get the approval of others when I do things the way that I see that's most right, that is most aligned with me. So today is August 1st. And I think it's actually day 50 of making these logs and these reflections. And that means I've made 50 videos of various lengths, some as short as I think 6 minutes and some as long as 30, 35 minutes. And like, is that productive? I've been consistent with this. So I can say, sure, I have produced, I have created. Now, did I get the outcome that I wanted? I think that the outcome is detached. It needs to be. So I don't actually know what to expect from this. And whatever I do see is very encouraging. It's encouraging because, number one, so a realization I had early on was like, if I can't watch my own content, then how could other people? And then if I knew that if I could watch it, then at least like I could watch it and like kind of reflect on it. Part of it is from like a lens of, what did I do? What do I want to do differently? What do I want to do differently? What do I want to stop doing? And then another side of it is just being able to hear myself in a different space, and a different time talk about myself. And it's really interesting. If you haven't done it before, like do it and see what happens. Because then you'll be reminded of places where you were. You'll be able to observe yourself doing things that they're like, why am I doing things that way? Is that what I want? Is that how I want things to come across? Like, I think in some of these videos, I default into that posture of like, let me teach you something, for the point of, I think deep down somewhere of like, this video needs to be useful, useful to you. So then that's why you would watch it. But maybe there's another level that we can connect on, which is like, I'm just sitting here and I'm doing my best to say what's on my mind, what's feeling in my body, and to release it out into the world. And maybe that's enough. Or not even maybe. That has to be enough, because that's what I'm doing. And whether or not the connection lands on the other side, I may not ever know. So if you are watching this and it does connect with you, please let me know. Um, I'm begging you. I'm begging you. It's like, how do I like ask you to interact with this video without sounding like, hey, like and subscribe for more. If you want to hear more, if you have a question for me, put it down in the comments, like those types of things. Like, honestly, I would love that. And not necessarily for the like the validation of it, but it's just interesting to see other people's responses. I tried this thing on TikTok, for the reels, where you have trial reels now. So I posted a trial reel, and that was pretty cool. And I got some comments. Yes, I love it when I see my friends comment on my videos. So the trial reels started off. I guess they send it to like people that haven't seen the video before, and like, um, one of the things in Instagram, I guess, is if you have followers and you post your content, it's mostly shown to people that follow you and a small section of people that don't. So the trial reel puts you puts you like gives you the opportunity to put it in front of people that haven't seen it and just see how they interact. And the response was pretty good. I was happy with it. I got a bunch of likes, and I got a comment from this random person that's like really funny, because like the video starts with like, I think I turned the video on and I go like, do the thing, whatever you've been thinking about doing, just go ahead and do it, um, and then of course like people are going to respond to that in various different ways. So this comment says, okay, I'm going to blow up and act like I don't know nobody. And that's cool. Like, what a funny comment, to go there, right? Like if you're sitting there watching this video right now, and I'm going to say, do the thing that you're thinking of doing, whatever you've been thinking of doing, go ahead and do it. And if the first thing that comes to your mind is, okay, I'm going to blow up, like just self-destruct myself, like not blow myself up, like I'm just going to go blow up, like 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 human combustion, and then act like I don't know nobody, like double negatives. I do not know nobody. That means I know somebody. It's great. Like, I love this comment. So thank you. Thank you for that. Um, so that that's a fun experience, because like everybody everybody has their own like super unique perspective, and there's the only way that we share it. Well, not the only way. The only way that is like acknowledged that we share it is through this medium of like talking, right? Like saying words. And then if you just look at the words that I'm saying, that's one thing. It's interesting because like I've taken these transcripts and put them into ChatGPT to um, kind of look at themes and all of this. And part of that actually is to look for validation outside for the things that I'm saying. Like, are the things that I'm saying making sense? Because like we started at productivity and then now I'm talking about like a comment that I had on Instagram. It's like, does this all kind of connect together? And like, does it matter? Like when we have conversations with each other in real life. I always find it funny when the topic of real comes up. But when I do this in person with people or like in real time, the conversation goes everywhere. There's not like a this is the topic for today. Let's stick to the agenda. Meetings, on the other hand, very important to stick to the agenda and have a purpose. Because that's, our time is valuable. So are you living your purpose? And I think for many years I didn't know if I was. I was doing things that I enjoyed and I was doing things I was good at. So I was able to do this for a number of years and like without too much specific intention. And then I discovered I went deeper into my human design, right? The whole projector revelation I've talked about before. It was really a huge shift in terms of how I interacted with people. And that's like one of the huge reasons why like putting this content out on social media even and being able to pause and wait for that response and wait for the invitation is something that I'm so much more comfortable now, so much more comfortable with now. The thing that helped me understand my purpose was actually discovering my incarnation cross. And when I read that, at first I had to consider it. And sometimes when you read something that's so true, but you don't realize that it's the truth for you, it's easy to first reject it. You're like, what do you mean, like, my purpose is to teach? I thought I was here to, like, whatever that old narrative story that I had, like, maybe I'm here to, like, make lots of money and, like, money was the end goal. Or I'm here to, I can't even remember what I thought. That's the thing with, like, really deep work. And I don't know if it's like, I think if I sat down and thought about it for long enough, then it could come back. It's not that it's completely gone, but the fact that it's not like easily accessible is a sign that that state that I used to associate with so heavily, so deeply, is now just somewhere else because I didn't need it. It wasn't useful for me. And that's kind of the nature of the work and the transformation that I'm building and that I'm offering here. Going into understanding that incarnation cross, that piece about number one, teaching and teaching over and over again. Um, in my workplace, we have placements, and the placement students change every 5 weeks. And they're coming into an environment that's quite different from other places that they've had experiences in. So there's a lot of learning, training, and they all do wonderful jobs as they're kind of moving through, learning the system, the processes, and they get really proficient by the end of it. And then they leave because they're done their placement, and then a new student comes in. And every time I look forward to sharing the same things that I've shared with the student prior. Uh, Different ways of looking at problems, different way of looking at the profession, because that's my purpose. My purpose is to be here to teach, right? So to teach and share, and in that process, I will learn more about that thing myself. Like the number of times I've talked about logical levels and how you can think of that in terms of smoking cessation, and then use the logical levels to build up your identity as a pharmacist and understand how your identity and your kind of little triangle for the logical levels for your professional life is in parallel with the one for your personal life. And your personal mission oftentimes outweighs your professional mission, which then says, take care of yourself before you can take care of others. And this is the whole path. I remember early on, I was like, I wanted to introduce this idea of logical levels, which is basically a hierarchy of the different levels of change that you can experience on a personal level. Something that comes from Robert Dilts and NLP. And basically at the top, it's mission. Um, Look up logical levels on Google. If I had an editor, they probably would have put it up here, but I don't. I'm actually on the cusp of either hiring a editor or a videographer or a photographer or something like that to help me like produce some of this content, because part of being seen is being ready to be in positions where other people see me in their own light. And I think that that gave me a little bit of pause before, because then now what if I don't show up in the way that, what if they don't see me in the way that I see myself and it comes out like, you know? So that's like kind of like the thing that's stopping me. But then what if it's better than that, like what if, and I guess like that worst case scenario is just like just one possible outcome. There's like infinite other levels that the whole thing could play out. So uh, I'm going to think about that and use that idea very intentionally. That's the idea. But with these levels, the first time that I was like trying to explain it, because I got it from, I learned it through NLP and my hypnosis training, and I wanted to bring it into my professional life because it just made sense. The first time that I tried to explain it, just even explaining what logical levels was, I was like, and I'm like trying to figure it out and kind of like muddling through it. But then every time I teach it again and again and again and again, I learn more and I learn more and I learn more. So the more that I do this work, the more that I engage with individuals in sessions, the more that I then learn how to do this better. And that's what I'm distilling down now into something I'm calling a focus session, to focus on one limiting pattern that you would like to remove and replace it with an empowering state, something that's strong, a better way of being, a different way of being. You could even think of it as the opposite of the limiting pattern. Whatever that limiting pattern that you have and you want to flip around, that's the point of this. So that's something that I'm distilling and articulating. And I'm like excited to like start building it out. I have an outline, and now I'm working on building the pieces. And what was interesting, Christian was talking, because I had shared this with her, and she was saying how it's like when you think about it, it's just mental, but then you go and you tell someone about it, you talk about it, you're making it real in the physical. You write it down on paper, it becomes even more real in the physical. And as like more and more kind of like things happen to like more action steps and more things of like doing, then it becomes more and more real in the physical. It's easier for me to observe it. It's easier for other people to observe it. And when things become observed, then they become real. So I'm excited. How often did I say that? I think one thing that I'm like, maybe I need to like think about learning some new words or something, because I'm like, I'm excited all the time. And I'm like, whatever, that's like a later thing. There's so many things that I want to learn, like handstands and stretching. I would love to get flexible. So I recently started a circus stretching program, and I'm doing that. And the consistency with doing these videos is like making me realize that I like that consistency builds progress. And it's like, oh, you didn't realize that before, John? Like, how could you not realize that before? Trying out this like referring to myself in third person. I don't think I liked it. I'm going to stop. But if I think about like it intellectually makes sense, it's understanding. And I can know that it makes sense as well. It's like, yep, 100%. Like little actions will take you and make your bigger goal. Like I even talk about it with walking. Like if a child is learning to walk, they're like learning over time. And then it's like, I have the audacity to say like, I'm going to skip those steps and just get to the end. I'm going to skip all the steps just because like I'm quirky and different. feel like I've expressed that before, and I think expressing it over and over again makes it more and more real to say like, hey, you there on the screen right now, you keep avoiding this one lesson. So just learn it, and then you can move on to learning something new. I still would love like a proper way of signing off rather than just ending abruptly. Um, but that's not for today. So I'm at the end. This is it. Maybe I'll go and be productive now.